Hello and welcome to Jimish FM. This is James speaking.
Howdy, James. How's it going?
Welcome to Cursory Conversation, the first one for 2017.
Yeah. Welcome 2017. The date is now the 9th of March. But we got there.
You seem opposed to doing late night ones. I thought it would be fun to do one after you've finished at Bill's Bar and Bites.
Only because I really don't know how good of conversations they'll be at that time though, because it was like a Saturday you messaged me as well, and normally I wouldn't have work on the Sunday, but I think I had work on the Sunday, and I was just like, no, I need to go home and sleep.
Oh my god! Look at the fireflies.
Where?
This next to you.
No, there aren't any flying. Oh my god! No, I think they're just bugs being lit up by the red light underneath them.
But when you were blocking that light, I was saying, wow.
Oh, you got me really excited. I was like, what?
Well,
we have fireflies?
They still look like fireflies, don't they?
They do, actually.
Well, actually, I've never seen a firefly in real life. So.
I have, but like when I was a kid, so I wouldn't really notice them.
Where?
I think it was in Melbourne.
Melbourne has fireflies?
I feel like it did. Or, actually, no, I think they were light up glowworms.
They're like a...
Never mind. They were
American thing, aren't they?
I think they were light up glowworms.
Oh.
So that's another thing. That we went to a cave, I remember, and there was pancakes involved somehow. And we went to see the silkworms, but they glowed in the dark.
Yeah.
And they were cool actually. I was so young. I would have been 6 or something. That's reaching into the memory bank there. I don't think I've seen a proper firefly before. But anyway, how are you?
Okay.
Yeah?
A bit over talking.
Yeah, I messaged James the other week being like, hey, man. And he was like, nope. I just don't want to talk. I was like, what? Have you got a fever? What ails you?
I think I just don't. I've lost faith in this world.
That's dramatic. I thought I was meant to be the dramatic one out of the two of us.
Now that Trump is president.
Oh, my God. No, you can feel enough removed from that because of where we are in the world. But then we're not at the same time. So you literally just crushed my spirit.
Have you heard of differential privacy?
No.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But
In what context?
Basically, if you have a Google account, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a Gmail?
I do.
Let's say but you have an iPhone. But you connect your Gmail account to your iPhone, right?
Which I only just did recently, literally a week ago. So funny we're talking about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not even a week ago.
Anyway, there's two sort of main differences between Apple and Google. Google, basically, with Apple, right, you buy the phone and that's how they make money. So they want to make the best sort of phone as possible to get you to buy phones, and that's when they make money, right? Google, with your Gmail, right, for example, it's free.
Correct.
Right? In theory, but it's not free. You're getting email in return for seeing ads in the thing. And so,
which I don't pay attention to, but sure.
Yeah, but to know which ads to send you, they look through all your emails. And that's how they pick
okay, yes. Yeah, and
what ads to show.
I know that Google, tracks what you kind of look at, so you should really look at, especially looking at flights and stuff, incognito browsers too, so they don't pick up, they can't battle against each other, so you genuinely have a cheaper option.
Yeah.
I need to start doing that because I keep getting travel things pop up and I'm like, obviously I've just Googled that and now you've conveniently placed an ad for it in my vision.
Okay, but what's wrong with that?
It's just sneaky.
Sneaky?
Yeah.
You reckon they should just send you an ad for something irrelevant? Wouldn't be something irrelevant be completely annoying?
Yes, but then there's the whole maybe I didn't know that I needed that.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's something that you've Googled, then it's the privacy. You know that they've tracked that. And Google asked me if it could use my microphone the other day for no reason.
Yeah.
And I said no. Because I'm you're listening to my... I would probably say something and then go to type it in and it's already probably in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm saying I'm going to look it up. That's full on. So yeah, randomly when I was Googling the other day, it just kind of said, Google wants to use your microphone.
Yeah.
Hell no.
So because of that, because they need to be able to read your email to show you what ads are, they can't encrypt it. They can't encrypt it so it's completely private. They have a key to your email so they can read it anytime they want.
Yeah,
right? Rather than
unfortunately.
with Apple, because they're not making money from ads, they're just making money from when you buy the phone. What they do is they encrypt your data so that only you have a key. Your password to your phone or your Apple account is literally the only way you can unlock that data.
Yes.
Which is a simplification because there are grey areas around that. But basically...
Which me and all my non-technologicalness does not.
But the problem comes is the future, right?
Right.
Do you ever use Siri?
Very rarely. Hardly ever.
It's because it doesn't always work, right?
Yeah. And I just find it much better to just type in. If I'm honest.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't even want... It's like, I don't even know what to type, so you just ask Siri some vague questions. Sometimes it gets it right.
Yeah, I just never got into using her, to be honest, so...
All right, well, that's kind of the future, is having a thing where you can just ask it and it'll give you the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to look through 10 results.
Yeah.
And try and work out wouldn't you like a search engine or assistant that just got you the best answer so you don't have to worry about it? Like, what if you had an assistant that got you the cheapest flight at the perfect time and you didn't have to look through 100,000 flights and combinations of times and stuff to find the perfect flight? It just says, oh, I know what Tanya likes and I'll do it.
No, I don't like that. Because then there's no room to change if you ever want to change your mind about how you operate. It kind of sets you on the path that you've previously had. So if you decide to change your mindset or start looking at something else then it's already clocked onto what you were doing. So it doesn't give you that room to change. So you stay where you are.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, like in the sense of, so say you use a company for something.
Yeah.
So you always use that same one and you could be happy with it, but you might not know that there's something else out there because you didn't physically go and have a look.
That's...
But it's already pre-booking it for you, so it keeps you on that same track and you have no room to move.
Yeah.
So, and that's just, but that would apply to so many other things, not just, companies or flights or whatever. That's just...
So you would never have... If you were rich enough, you would never have an assistant. You would always want to do everything yourself. You're a real control freak.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't want someone to just go and organise something for you that you don't care about.
See,
like,
I wouldn't put it as a
I need an
control
esky
freak.
to go to this fishing trip that I'm being sent on by this boy, but I don't care about eskies. Can you just find me the best one? Thanks. And you deal with that, and I save my brain processing power to what I'm going to wear.
It depends.
Whatever you prefer to be passionate about. What stories I'm going to tell this boy to impress him on the fishing trip.
Why are you going to the... Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I'm just bringing up a random scenario.
Yeah. Well, maybe I am more of a control
I've
freak
told
than
you
I
before
thought.
about I just don't like food really. Like for 6 days of the week, I don't want to have to worry about food. Wouldn't it be cool to have an assistant that just sorted that out for you?
Yes and no. Again, I would like it, but then again, I would probably... You're right, I probably am more of a control freak than I think I am, because it's one thing to say that I enjoy doing that, but then
you like food, so you care more.
Yes, exactly.
About that. But I'm sure there's things out there that you just don't care about.
That's true. There is stuff that I probably wouldn't care, but you know what?
It's like a hassle. Oh, what insurance plan do I have to get? Oh, I don't want to look this up right now. Hey Siri, can you just get me an insurance plan that suits?
No, because I would still be in my type of personalities. I'm still curious enough to look and find what's good and what's
but you can
not.
see that some people just don't want to deal with stuff.
I can definitely see why some people
and want to
wouldn't.
spend more time on the things they like rather than the boring stuff.
Of course, and that's just the ease of it and the natural progression of people wanting, that whole self-satisfying now, and you can have it whenever you need it, and which is totally great. But I guess my personality is that I'm curious, so I like to know what else is happening and what I can get out of it, or what's a new recipe, or I wouldn't want my assistant to order me the same food every week. I wouldn't,
Yeah. Anyway, so basically the difference between
we digress.
In this future world, there's going to be digital assistants, right? That'll just handle stuff for you. But Google's way of doing it is they keep a way to keep that data unlocked. So they just stalk your emails and your messages, anything that's on your phone, to find out more about you, to find what's the best solution for you, right?
Social footprint, yeah.
But because Apple puts privacy first, all that stuff's encrypted and they don't have access to that data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do they learn more about you?
But does Apple do that, though?
Well, when you're doing predictive typing, You see the suggestions come up, right? It's learning from you.
Oh, yeah, true.
Stuff like that. You want to be faster to type, so you want that information to go. And people say that Google is better at that. Their predictive typing is better because they send it off to the cloud. They study what you're doing, and they send it back to you. Rather than Apple only does it on the phone because the data is not allowed to leave the phone.
Yeah.
So it's limited by how good your phone is, rather than on Google's big cloud, which is, a whole, computer server farms the size of a small country. They have a lot more computing power to, stalk you and know you better. So Apple's idea to get around this is called differential privacy, where they want to send your data to the cloud like Google does. But what they're going to do is send all this mush with it, like fake stuff, to the cloud with it, right?
Why?
So that people looking at a stream of your data can't tell what is actually what you think, what is actually your private stuff, and what is just random goobity-gook, right?
Right, so if someone tries to hack it, you mean? They can't.
Yeah, so if someone's intercepting the Wi-Fi signal in the way, they just get this gobbledygook, right? Mm-hmm. And so that they can still learn and improve their software, they combine all that data from all their things, and they look for small patterns in the data within that giant thing to try and get some idea of what's happening.
Yeah.
So they, with predictive typing, they can kind of guess that, sure, we're not going to work out what Tanya prefers to say after the word rabbit, most likely, but we can look at every iPhone user in the world, which is like 1 billion people, and see what's the most likely word to come up after they type rabbit.
Yes.
And they can filter that information just from slight differences in the data, right? They filter it out.
God, technology hurts my brain. Mm.
And they can do stuff with photos as well, like they're trying to find identify images in your photos. Like,
well, that's actually Snapchat.
I want to be able to search your photos and say, pull up all photos that have a dog in it, Yeah,
Snapchat has a bit of that, like outdoor, nighttime, sunset. Like it's got little sections, but when you save it into your phone, I did notice that. I mean, are you going somewhere with this? If I cut you off,
right? But what I'm saying with the whole Trump thing.
Oh yes, okay, good.
And the whole reason is you put out lots and lots of data, so much stuff out that people looking and trying to find out the truth can't work it out from an individual user.
Yeah.
An individual can't work that data out. And that's what Trump is doing. He's just saying anything. He just says this day, says that day, and puts up so much rubbish that the average person can't work out what the truth is.
Yeah. It's that kind of appealing to the greater masses. You use the right language, you're going to appeal to the majority. And that's how he gets across with how he communicates with people. I love that you went about the whole Google Apple thing to get to that point.
Right,
it's great.
But this is my larger point. Is that going to be the future? We will not know what the truth is because the bad people will just put out fuzzy information to confuse the truth.
But the thing is, people
the people who are being paid by the coal companies to put out, even though 97% of scientists say that climate change is real, coal companies and the oil companies are paying the 3% to put out heaps of stuff that just pushes out there so it looks like it's 50-50. You know what I mean? Whether it's going to be, climate change is real or not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you think about it though, there've been a lot of people do, like especially in politics, people do that a lot. So not just Trump, as much as, he's a cock.
This is just the prime example.
Yeah, exactly. But again,
he's the one who's exploited it the best.
Yeah, and in terms of whether it's going to be a future thing, well, let us pray that it's not, because you want, those people in power that grab hold of onto techniques like that, especially psychologically, over a group of people. How much power can they wield because people will interpret it in their own way as well. So not only does it come out in that fuzzy kind of, cool, it appeals to everyone, but because of that, there's no specific behind it, so people will interpret it in their own manner, and that's when the trouble starts too, rather than because there's no definitive answer from the person in power.
And it's not just like the right-wing people doing it. And this is happening on a large scale. Like, politicians always been like, what do you call it, filibustering and just talking crap and just saying whatever, trying to say the minimum so they can never be caught out on something. But this is happening on a broad scale, which everyone's getting swarmed with so much information that no one really knows the truth. So they're just going to their raw caveman instincts. Like, I'm scared of terrorists. Let's kill all foreigners.
Yeah. But in saying that, then there's a lot they aren't saying as well. So they're not saying things because they're avoiding certain aspects, and then people, be scared of terrorists, be scared of this. But then we also don't know how badly it really is as well, because we get shielded from that too. So there's that part of it as well. Not saying that we should well and truly know what's happening, but in their minds too, it's like, we protect you from knowing how bad this world really is, which I also don't agree with either.
And it's always they talk about the post-truth era, like we can just, Trump, whenever there's something that he doesn't agree with, there might be quite well researched, he just says fake news.
Yeah. And
he says that as the president, he has power when he says that, and people just go, well, I don't have time to research it. And it's
he
the
does
president
that all
telling
the time.
me it's quite possibly true. I'm sure I'm meant to believe my president, right?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Like, he just says that kind of stuff all the time. Like, he throws it back onto people with no research behind it whatsoever.
And it's not just the right wing that does it, it's the left wing. Like, it's funny, like, was it yesterday? It was International Women's Day. And
correct.
People,
I was going to bring that up.
A lot of, every time there's a feminist thing, they talk about the wage gap. And the wage gap is actually a myth. Like, there's no actual evidence to back it up, what the claim is.
In America it is, though.
No, they've looked at all the data that's been presented, and it's just someone made it up, basically. And it's become this thing. And that's not to say that we want women to have better opportunities to do the things that they want, right? But the stick the feminism movement is using it is a myth, like the wage gap myth is like a stick they're using to beat the right with. And the right says, well, that's a myth, so they don't believe it. And so in this stalemate where these two people that aren't using facts to back up what they're saying, they're just using these slogans like wage gap and stuff like that, that nothing's actually really, it feels like nothing's really happening.
What do you mean? Like, because one says one thing and one says the other?
Yeah.
That's how it always is, though.
Yeah, but wouldn't we like to move towards the best
version of the like, that you can
the
get
best
to.
idea wins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I did hear about these protests, actually, about people talking about this no pay gap sort of business. I think it kind of, in terms of by hour, like that might, like I remember talking to my friend in the US a few years back, and she was getting paid 50 cents less than her male counterpart in the same role as a waitress.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that definitely existed.
But what did she give you other data? Because there were women when I don't have any coworkers at my current job, but at my last job, there were a bunch of women there were getting paid more than me, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was getting paid so little. And they're like, oh, you get a little bit of a raise every so often, and I've been here 2 years.
Yes.
And you've only been here 6 months, so you'll probably get a pay raise. And sure enough, in 6 months' time, I did get a bit of a raise. Yes. Did you take into account that fact?
No.
This is what the myth comes is they don't take into a fact. Like they compare a female-dominated field like childcare compared to a male-dominated field like engineering, and software engineers like in Silicon Valley get obscene wages because there's so much competition for their job.
Yes.
Do you know, literally Apple and Google, the reason your phone crashes is because Apple literally can't hire enough engineers to make sure your phone doesn't crash. The device is so common, so there's a huge price for it. Yeah,
I mean, when I talked to her about that, I mean, her kind of job has people coming in and out all the time as well. So she was one of the longest standing people there. Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't get into that nitty gritty of it with her, but she's like, I know my other friends as well. And even though people say it's like a 20 cent, 50 cent difference, it still counts for something. The fact that there has to be a difference. You know, and I understand getting, the $1 or $2 pay rise after a few months of being there. I know quite a few places do that. But the fact that it's 50 cents, 20 cents, because it's just that slight difference, like it shouldn't even be a thing. So that, in that kind of sense, like it might not be all companies over there for sure. But, that was real.
Now, there is a real wage gap that exists between men and women, and it comes to roles where
like CEOs.
Where you get to negotiate your wage. It's not CEOs, it's any job. If a CEO can negotiate his wage, a man statistically is more likely to negotiate a higher wage, or a woman's going to accept a lower wage.
Yeah.
And so it's not an issue where they go, oh, she's a woman, we'll pay her less. It's more an idea that women have been told that they get paid less and pay less and pay less their whole lives.
Yeah.
As this myth gets propagated, that they're willing to accept a lower fee when they're negotiating their wage.
That's it. And that's, in one way, it's like you could definitely ask that, but do you blame when you've been brought up in that way to, like, that's all you'll get offered? Like, especially if people that know about this myth would use that against them as well. If you had the male, like, say in the sense of CEO, someone was offered a female role, a female was offered a CEO job, and her higher ups were males, knowing full well that this is part of a myth, rather than offering her full worth, they will offer it to her lower, knowing that she'll probably accept it. And, like, the chances are that because we've been raised in that kind of environment where we're likely to accept that, they'll use that against that, rather than saying, no, if a male walked in here, I would offer him 50,000 more because I know that he's going to fight me on it and he's a male, rather than just giving it to them. And, like, yes, there's room for negotiation, but that kind of shit.
So that's a real fact. So if we worked on that, we could actually get something done, right? Yeah. So let's say that the actual real thing we need to work on is stopping women accepting less or men negotiating harder for more.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's...
So that's a real thing that we can actually solve, rather than if you just say that the myth that's been spread is that women get paid 70 cents on the dollar or something like that, which it just isn't true, because guess what? If I'm a boss at my job and I can employ women at 30% less to do the same job, every boss in the world is going to do it. Not a single one is not going to do that.
Yeah.
There's no way some guy wants a bunch of dudes around paying them 30% extra when he can have a bunch of women doing it and save 30% of the money.
That's true. But that's why...
So this is what I'm talking about, the post-fact truth, that we're not getting stuff done because we don't focus on what is actually true. And so I just feel you go wage gap, and it just gets ignored by the people who are in power to change it, because they know, well, this doesn't make sense, because I would actually love to pay you 30% less.
But they're not going to say that, though, are they? Because it keeps the distance still, rather than that.
What they would love to do is then go, wait, we're paying women less? Why don't we start paying men less, and then we save more money? Yeah.
But, but that keeps it alive for them to use against you. And then but that's why things like feminist movements are so important, because of that, because of that wanting to build towards equality, whether that means, dispelling myths like that wage gap. And, but it's so funny, because I watched this thing today. It was like a slam poetry thing.
Yeah.
And, she was saying, like, to be a feminist is confusing because you want to stand up for yourself, ask for more money. And, it's such an easy concept, being equals, that we do not grasp. Like, it's so hard for people to genuinely, not everybody, but the majority of people that still do not grasp that. And, should be like, but does that mean that I have to put myself out in a certain way? I shouldn't be, because I'm female, because I say I'm a feminist, does that mean I can't like, TV shows like Game of Thrones because I enjoy watching them, but because I'm a feminist, I can't, stuff like that. And I thought it was really interesting because it's so true. It's kind of like you either pick whether you're a devout feminist or whether you don't give a shit. And it's not like that at all. Like, all females want to be respected and treated equal. That's all that's about. Even Emma Watson, actually, that's what I was going to bring up. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I do follow Emma Watson. She's one of the few sane feminists.
Yes, and obviously she is beautiful. But how she did a shoot with Vanity Fair, if no one's heard of this. She did a shoot with Vanity Fair, and it was like, she also made like a short film as well, and then she took like some weird kind of, not even weird, like just like fashion sort of forward photos, kind of androgynous in style as well. And there was a photo where she had a bit of underboob out the bottom of her shirt. And apparently, which I find so incredible, I'm sure everyone's heard of it by now because it was spread around virally. But apparently, yeah, she copped all this flack about not being a feminist because she showed her boobs. She's then it's her prerogative to show her boobs as a feminist because she can do whatever the fuck she wants. Like, there is no...
Well, not only that, the stick they were trying to hit her with is that she discussed how she thought that one of Beyonce's videos had a male gaze aspect to it. And she just discussed it as just an intelligent discussion. And everyone's like, well, you're criticizing Beyonce for being a slut, which is not what she was talking about anyway. She was talking about she was just discussing with whoever she was talking with in the article. Because I think literally this article was just an
interview?
Transcript. It probably was an interview.
Yeah.
But the way it was typed up as it wasn't like someone telling a story. It was just these conversations going back and forth.
Yeah.
Written out. It sounded like they were just having, an interesting conversation about Beyonce's thing, and she was just wondering whether she was questioning whether she's been sort of told by her record label to slut it up because it makes more album sales, or whether she is actually doing it because that's how she wants to express herself.
Yeah.
And make herself sexy.
And she can do that because we're allowed to.
That's what she said. It's at the end of the conclusion of the article was like, that's feminist. It's her choice to do it.
Exactly.
But of course, they just clipped out one bit where she had a bit of criticism and didn't take out the con criticism, but didn't include the pro criticism. They basically took a balanced person who had a balanced view and tried to make it an unbalanced view with the stick, because they need to have a stick to beat someone with.
Well, I mean, can I just put a little side note on there? I'm actually so excited for Beauty and the Beast to come out.
Okay.
But, in saying that, there's all these articles that are out now, like, she's a feminist and she's doing a film about someone who's basically got Stockholm Syndrome. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake, it's a fucking fairy tale, like, from Disney. Like, it's not, how many artsy indie films out there are there that probably have more fucked up content than that? That they've wanted to bring to the light for that. But an old Disney film based on an old, probably even older, like, story gets, in our modern society is getting hammered because of that. And,
So is it literally an adaptation of the animated film?
I think so to an extent. Like, I think she still sings in it.
It's the same songs and everything.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what they did with Cinderella when they redid that, like in the live, or not the live version, but they made the film out of it. It's kind of like that.
But is it an adaptation of the screenplay of the original film, or is it just an adaptation of the Cinderella story?
Well, no, it's an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, I think. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but whatever, I'm excited.
Because you can go see Les Mis, and there's no music in it. Oh, this is an adaptation of the book.
Okay. Well,
not an adaptation of the musical.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. But, and that was the thing. I was like, really? Like, you're going to crucify Beauty and the Beast for that? But there's all this talk because there's gay characters in it that they've made more obviously gay now because it's not back in the day when Disney first released it.
Yeah.
And, my friend posted a status about it again, being like, people are kicking up a stink over the fact that there's gay characters in this, but no one's really batting an eye into the whole Stockholm Syndrome with the Beast, and he kidnaps her, but that's okay. And then someone commented underneath saying, yeah, that's fine because he turns into a handsome prince at the end of the movie. Like, never mind gay marriage. Like, and he's gay himself. So he was commenting on the fact that, why are people kicking up such a stink about the fact that there's gay characters in our age, which again, very true. I think people just sometimes want to pick at something because they fucking can. Like, honestly, in that sense. And it's true, though. I mean, but that's because I'm not, I don't have any prejudice against that. So I heard the rumors about it, being like with these gay characters, and I don't bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
But I guess for people that weren't raised that way.
Anyway, I always say it's interesting that all the criticism against her, that's not true, isn't it? It's mostly from women that were criticizing, and I guess a lot of black women felt, hey, don't diss Beyonce, she's our feminist hero. And but then also there was assholes like Piers Morgan who just had to get his dick in the munching machine of life to have some say about it.
Piers Morgan, he was talking to Lindsay Lohan in an interview recently as well. Did you see that?
No.
And because she's all right, we know Lindsay Lohan's a bit, of an odd kind of thing at the moment because she, came back with like a slightly Italian accent when she speaks, and then she's been seen, odd. But she's been seen carrying around the Quran, and she's been seen like wearing headscarves and stuff. So anyway, she went to this interview with Piers Morgan, and I think she's there to talk about something completely different, but he just kept pushing her and was like, so are you converting to Islam? And she was like, I just am reading it for I want to understand it, and I find solace in learning about other religions. Yeah. And because obviously she's had addictions and stuff before, so I think it's part of her recovery. Anyway, but he just kept pushing at her, and his co-hosts were just like, so when will you be converting to Islam? What do you like about Islam? Trying to get her to have a mental breakdown on TV and can confirm. It was ridiculous. I was like, leave the poor fucking girl alone. She's come here to talk to you, clearly to talk to you about something else. And she handled it really well, but honestly, it was embarrassing for him because he just wanted the juicy story. Yeah. Then he had to dig into her rather than being like, oh, that's how interesting, and questioning about it. It was just like, yes, but are you converting to Islam? It was ridiculous. Anyway, again, this is getting too heated. Next topic.
This opens up a whole new chest of worms. 'Cause Islam is a really interesting thing. I don't actually know what it is. Is Islam and Muslims the same thing? Is it just different words, different ways of saying it? You're a Muslim who follows Islam, is that right? I don't know.
I don't want to confirm nor deny.
But it's an interesting thing because it's really split the left, because the left, in theory, doesn't like Islam ideals because they're repressive against women and homosexuals. But we want their freedom, but we're fighting for their freedom to have freedom of religion at the same time. And then on the opposite side, the right wing, they also hate homosexuals and like to repress women, but they hate Muslims because 20 of them out of the billion on the planet are terrorists. So it's really interesting. I wonder if that will ever get solved. Is this just one of those things that for the next 1,000 years we're just going to be fighting over Islam because there's a stalemate on both sides? Really.
Again, we come to that brilliant word. No
stalemate.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should say, context, we're at Elizabeth Quay.
Yes.
This is our anniversary, I think.
Well, almost.
Is it? I'm sure March last year we were meeting on Elizabeth Quay for your audition.
Yeah, I had my audition here. It was Elizabeth Quay had only reopened a few months before that, hadn't it? So I hadn't been
open for the first time.
Yeah, I actually opened. But I actually hadn't been, I don't think, before properly before I came for my audition with you. So that was my first time here, and actually maybe it was. Oh, happy anniversary! Look at that, 1st of 2017. It's
about 7:30 p.m. It's a very balmy night. We're in shorts and shirts, but it's I don't know about Tanya, but I'm warm.
Yeah, I'm pretty warm.
There's a gentle, balmy breeze tickling your skin. We watch the sun go down. There's a ferry going past. The bridge is lit up.
It's very
We're on the island in the middle of the thing.
Yeah, there's lots of just different coloured lights here, which is kind of a bit arcadey, but it's nice.
The city is lit up, looking over us.
It is. Fresh, young city, little city. But you know what?
It's not that little anymore. 2 million people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the city itself. But Perth has got some really great things happening at the moment, just in terms of restaurants, and the vibe for being out and with other people. I think there's some good stuff happening there. It's always had, you've got to kind of had to dig for it a bit more, but they're really trying to make, and I just love how, a celebrity comes here like Adele or Justin Bieber and the city just goes insane. I wish I went to Adele. I'm not going to lie. I love Adele.
Oh, you couldn't hear it?
No, because I don't live that close.
I just opened my window.
I should have just come to your house. Why didn't you tell me this?
I'm not even that close. It was just that loud.
James. I could see people's statuses on Facebook about being able to hear her and stuff. And, in that sense, it's cool how we kind of get so excited. But it's a bit sad at the same time. Same with Justin. Although with Justin Bieber,
he comes every year.
I don't who Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think he's come for maybe a couple
like every
of
year
years.
there's a new Justin Bieber.
But he, there was clips of him that kept popping up again on my Facebook, and I don't like Justin Bieber.
I don't think I could. Don't know any. Is he a musician or was he an actor that turned into a musician?
No, he was like he got discovered on YouTube when he was like 14, like young. So he's kind of just come up from there, which, in that sense, and I feel bad for him because he's had to grow up in the public eye in that sense. So he's done some stupid shit and then, said some stuff but again, I still don't particularly like him as I don't like his music as such, but there was some videos that kept popping up on Facebook of 9 News that had been following him around, obviously, or spotting him. But the first clip was him doing a workout along South Perth over there.
Yeah.
And he's, I couldn't see, it didn't really look like he had anyone else with him though. And he, obviously probably did on the sidelines, but he was just going for a run. People were walking past, on the river in the morning and he just said hello. And I thought to myself, if that was anywhere else in the world, obviously the people that saw him would have, if they liked him, would have gone over. And I mean, if I saw him, I would have been like, hi, even though I don't like him.
Yeah.
But the fact, that's what I kind of love about Perth is they can just leave, and apparently he hired a motorcycle and went, down the coast and stopped over at beaches as well. And, again, he would have said hello to people, but it wasn't like a swarm. If that was maybe Sydney or Melbourne or, other places in the world, Perth just really... I feel I have that respect kind of boundary with when it comes to celebrities in that respect. Obviously they still went up to him, but I don't know. Whenever I saw these little clips pop up on Facebook, it just amazed me how there wasn't a swarm of people around him at all times.
I guess so.
Yeah, well, that was something.
I'm sure if he walked into Forest Chase or something, it'd be insane.
Yeah, I mean, these were outdoor kind of situations, but Perth has a lot of that people can do, if they wanted to have a bit of privacy in terms of going for a walk or a run. You could put a hat on, put a jacket on, go for a run around Swan River, beautiful, and probably no one would recognize you, or the odd person if they had a Hawkeye, Sunny's hat,
possibly.
Do you know what I mean?
I bet you the tier under celebrity. I'm sure Justin Bieber's a bigger than A grade.
Well, that's what I mean. He's not to me, but...
But you could go to a B plus and they would just walk around like no one would know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. And same with Adele. If she had been walking around... I don't know. Actually, I don't know about the reaction she...
Do you know who Hugo Weaving is?
Yes. The Australian actor.
That's my only celebrity... I don't know. Is he A class? Because he was in The Matrix and Lord of the Rings and all that.
I guess so, yeah. So, wait, have you met him?
I don't know. He's my top celebrity encounter. He came to my party.
Oh, he came to your party?
Yeah.
What party?
It was a film festival. We had a party in our hotel room and he turned up.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would have been chuffed with that.
I don't remember it.
I met Martin Freeman once in London.
Yeah.
Walking down the street.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice it. My friend that I was with, Hannah, she's a photographer and kind of marketing stuff, and she was doing this kind of photography thing, but she just has such a knack for meeting celebrities. I'd always see photos of her with just some random dude that she'd meet out, and it would always be different levels, but still I was like, how are you bumping into all these people? I was like, I've been living in London for 2 years and I think I saw the back of Sporty Spice in Hampstead once. Anyway, but we were walking out of a concert, so everyone was going the opposite direction and he was coming in the other way, and she just grabbed me and pulled me around the corner, and I was like, what, where are we going? And she was like, hi, my name's Hannah, blah blah blah, and starts talking to him, and I was kind of sitting there for a second a bit what's happening? And then I was like, oh, but I'd started talking to him about just normal, trying to be cool, and was like, oh, so where are you guys off to now, trying to make conversation while she's getting her camera out. And he was home, probably thinks I was trying to stalk him. I was like, oh no, I was just okay, never mind.
Yeah.
It's fine. But he was nice.
I did actually Prince William once went, hey, and nodded at me how's it going?
What? Where? Here?
In London. It was weird because I was just walking down this random street in London, and there's all these people spilled out from this pub, and there was all these sort of cameras and security people there, and I was like, oh, this is a film shoot? But it was the cameras were not film cinema cameras, and there was no like lighting. And this guy nodded at me, and he looked really familiar, like because I just walked past, and I think I was not meant to be walking down that road at that time.
Oh, because you're by yourself, you gotta get away with that stuff.
I was staring at these people because it was like an interesting sort of meetup thing, and this guy sort of, hey, he had a beer, and he was like, "Yep, how's it going?" Like they just did the nod, the guy nod.
That's pretty cool. I would have started with that story. That's a pretty.
Well, I only just remembered it because it's such a weird thing because I didn't recognize him at all, but I knew he was familiar, so I literally went home and like Google image searched famous British people and until I came across the photo. It was Prince William. I'm like, and then I looked up the map, and this is like the nearest pub to Buckingham Palace, and he was just hanging out having a beer.
Really?
Yeah.
Aw, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
I'm
how
guessing
long ago
all those
was
people
that,
were paparazzi with the cameras, not
Yes, for sure.
news crew.
Well, how long ago was that?
This is like 2006 or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's probably when Google barely existed. Probably used some other service.
Before he had kids, really. And
Oh, yeah,
married,
probably.
I don't know. When did they get married? It was like 2012, 2011? No, maybe earlier.
I don't follow these things.
Me neither,
I literally didn't. This guy nodded at me. I didn't recognize him until I went home and looked up.
And then you
famous British
realised it
people.
was... It could have... You know what? If that was like a princess, you could have had like some weird little like love story going on.
Oh, yeah.
I watched Roman Holiday the other day at home, so...
I think it was because I was walking down the street in a Hawaiian shirt. I'll probably look pretty weird.
Oh, really?
That's probably why he
You were
nodded me.
still rocking
And I
the
was the only
Hawaiian
person
shirts
walking
back
there.
then.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. That's great.
I did go on a bit of break, literally because I wore them all out and I was too lazy to buy some new ones.
So you're like, I just have to wear this one. So what have you been? We haven't even talked about what we've consumed.
Well, I've consumed the whole world since we last
I know.
met.
Well, this is
It's been
what
2
sounds
months.
like it. I know. Well, I just made that little dot point of a couple of things, but really, have you? So as we know, we generally get into talking about TV shows. Have you ever watched Broad City?
Yes.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Because so my best friend and my wife that you met at my birthday.
Which one was that?
My wife, the one you really liked, the psychologist.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's been telling me about this show for ages, and I've watched like little like clips of it, and she laughs because she's like, "You're Alana, and I'm Abby."
All
And-
right. Yeah,
and
I
I'm
can see that.
What, that I'm Alana?
No, not. I can see one of you being.
Oh, okay.
I don't know your friend well enough,
Right.
but I can see the combination.
Yeah.
So I met her briefly.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, and I haven't really, because I've been home for a couple of weeks because I just had my surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I, have kind of run out of shows to watch. So I was like, oh, I've been meaning to sit down and watch this show. So I've basically just binged watched Broad City for the past week, and it's hilarious. It's
Yeah.
actually so clever, and like, I love how they capture New York as well. It's not just like, oh, we're filming in New York and we're walking down a street. Like, they make such a point of the odd time catching like all the different people that you'd find on the subway or in the parks or, and it is like, it can be a bit crass or whatever else, but
Have you been to New York?
yes. Yeah.
That sort of seemed familiar.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way that
My experience of New York is playing GTA 4.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, in terms of how they've captured it, I really liked it. And then, and at the end of it, it's just like about their friendship, and they're so different, but yeah, I thought it was really amusing. So if anyone's not watched it, it is a particular type of humor though. Would you say? Would you agree?
No, I don't know. I watch a lot of shows like that, so.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe if you don't, then it's a bit of that different kind of humor. But no, it's clever, and I love how it started off as a YouTube show, kind of web series, and then got picked up by Amy Poehler, the executive producer, and then she catapulted it into.
I like how it's sort of women just doing their thing. It's not. There's so many BS female-oriented shows that are so sort of cliched.
Yeah, and then they're kind of, it's cliche in the way
Even
that
like I loved the first season of Girls, and I got sick of that because it felt like such a bubble. I just didn't relate to their those characters.
Well, yeah, and you know what though? They're kind of talking about girls. That those characters are the kind of ones where you relate to them, but you hate them all. Like I don't particularly like any of them, which is awful. You know, as a you're meant to kind of generally for a show to kind of work like that. They have the little bits of that you can relate to them because of the stereotype. You don't, but you don't really have that with girls. And I still watch it though because sometimes I do get to an end of an episode and I'm like, I honestly don't really like but they do have their redeeming qualities, or they'll do something out of character. Like, but actually, there was an episode that the second last episode of the season that I've just watched, which was brilliant. I must say, it was almost like a short film, kind of set up. Like it could have been a short film on its own.
Sorry, which show are we talking about?
Girls.
Yeah,
there was what I can't remember what the episode was called, but in the episode she went to Chuck Palmer's house, and who's like meant to be the famous writer, and he's invited her over because she wrote an article about the fact that he was abusing his power with women once, being a famous writer, and they would suck him off, and she would so Hannah being Hannah wrote the article about it, and he invited her over and he was like, thanks for coming. And they end up getting into this discussion about, how she's incorrect about it and everything. And then he kind of flips it on her at the end. And it's just it could have just been a short film in itself. Like, it was a great episode. So every now and then there's an episode where it's just like kind of could on its own. But yeah, anyway, you just reminded me of that because you said girls. But anyway, Broad City,
it's
hilarious.
Called Freedom.
What one?
The shows like that. Because they're on HBO, they can do what they want.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to follow a formula.
Right, yeah.
Although they like tits.
They like the, real nudity. Well, Broad City, I mean, I know they bleep out all the swearing in Broad City.
Broad City is not on HBO, though.
It's not, but it annoys me that...
But Girls is on HBO, so there's a minimum TA per episode. Quota still, even though it's a feminist show.
Just get them out. Like they blurt out the characters on Broad City are just, they're stereotyped because they amplify how non-cliched they are. I think that's, if that makes sense. Because they amplify how they're not the typical kind of like TV show that has those characters. So sometimes they genuinely do shit where you're like, why? Like, why did you say that, or why did you do that? But it makes them human, and rather than, okay, ha ha ha, we're so funny, like here's a little girly moment that just happened, or so I quite like that. But then on the flip side, I've been watching I watch like quite a few different shows, but ones that kind of stand out to me at the moment. Have you watched This Is Us?
No, and I don't think
Probably not. It's probably not your thing.
Is that the one on the... they have ads for it with like inspirational music? Like,
yeah.
These are real people, but it looks like a B-grade movie.
Yeah. The ads on TV for it are terrible. I watched it because it won a couple of awards. So I was like, I'll just watch the first few episodes. And I don't really watch like family drama. It's a family drama. Like, that's how you would classify it. I don't really watch that kind of stuff really, but I was like, okay, run out of shows, saw it won a few awards, I'll give it a crack. And just a very interesting take on a family show. And I really like the acting in it. Like Mandy Moore, I don't, again, never really loved her in anything else I've kind of seen her in, but in this she plays a mum to triplets, and like it flashes back and forth between when they're like born at different ages and then them now. And her character is just very different. Again, not overly cliched in terms of a woman. And they have, so the whole show is based on the fact that she has triplets. So in the first episode, in the pilot, she's like pregnant with triplets, goes into labor. It's also the father's birthday, so they've all got the same birthday, but one of the triplets passes away during birth, and so they're like dealing with that. And then the dad is looking at them, and there was a child who was like a black kid was dropped off at a fire station, and then left there. And then he saw him kind of in the, where all the babies are, because I think it's like set in the 70s or 80s, like when they're born. And then 80s, I think. Anyway, and he sees this kid and finds out that he's been abandoned, and then decides to adopt him, and they're all born on the same day. So it just kind of looks at issues of race as well between, because they're like, white family as well. And back then, in the like 70s, 80s, all the like stigma behind it. And so it's just, it adds an extra layer into the show and how they interact. And then it goes back and forth between them being 36 now and then what happens. So you get different pieces of the story as it flicks in and out of their ages. So I just thought it was a very different take on the show. But I just found the acting's phenomenal for a TV series. I mean, I'm really liking all of their characters, but they're all very real, in the sense that they're not just written for the sake of having a well-written character, if that makes sense. So I think we're entering a new sort of golden age of TV, because we had this really amazing golden age in the early 2000s. Then for the next 10 years, maybe, it was all, this stuff revolutionized, let's just make derivatives of that. Just this year, I've started watching a few shows that I've really like, well, this is going to be cool. Watched Riverdale. You watching that? No, actually, I've not watched that. I've heard of it.
I started watching Riverdale not knowing anything about it, and it's sort of like a Fincher noir set in a cliched American town with a high school and a guy who's in a football team, and he's got the cute girl next door, and it's like will they won't they thing. Oh,
is it like a teeny show, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
I think it's co-produced with like the CW, who did like Dawson's Creek and all that stuff.
Yeah. And
probably Gossip Girl.
CW does like Jane the Virgin and a couple of other shows like that.
But I started to, as I was watching, I'm like, I recognize these characters from somewhere, like at least the names and the sort of aspects of the characters in the case. These look really familiar. And I'm like, okay, the main character's called Archie. The girl next called Betty. The hot brunette is called Veronica. And the weirdo outsider who's still friends with these guys is called Jughead. I'm like, oh, right, this is a adaptation of Archie comics.
Oh.
But done as like a sort of a dark murder whodunit kind of thing.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's a really fun show, and I'm really, really enjoying it. But it's annoying.
Add it to my list.
Because I guess it's because it's a co-production between Netflix and CW.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's coming out weekly on CW in the US, but the rest of the world it comes out on Netflix. And normally when Netflix brings out a show, they bring out a whole season, you get to binge it. But this one you have to wait each week for the new episode.
Yeah, that's annoying. I mean, and Netflix are doing some great show. Actually, one of the girls so a girl used to go to Pad before, the year before I left, maybe? I mean, the year before I got there, sorry. But, they have all the pictures of, on the wall of them. Anyway, she just picked up, I know she went on a cruise ship. I don't know if she did like 1 or 2 contracts of cruise ship work. But she just got the lead in a Netflix series. I think it's called 13 Reasons. Have you seen the trailer for that? Again, no. It's like a high school thing, but basically I think she kills herself. But she leaves tapes for her friends and puts like 13 reasons as to why. So it's like this like mystery thing as to why she did it, or did she do it? And then they have to piece it together, kind of thing. But so she's obviously going to be in all the flashbacks. But which is awesome. So she's the main character in it. But so that's cool.
Yeah.
But Netflix have some really good shows.
On Stan, there's this show that I'm absolutely loving, and again, they're releasing week by week because it's not I mean, I don't think Stan doesn't put out whole episodes, seasons.
Does Stan make stuff as well? Like, you know how Netflix...
They're
is
Australian
stuff?
companies, so they've got a couple of Australian shows.
Oh, really?
But the other content's just international stuff.
We are close to a bin, if you could
I
hear
think they
that.
have an agreement with Showtime, so they have exclusives on a lot of the Showtime shows.
Right.
And I think it was a show that I think I talked about last year called Billions, which is...
Oh, has
kind
that got Damien...
Yeah,
Lewis in it?
Damien Lewis, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I like him.
And the girl from Mad Men and Sons of Anarchy and Paul Giamatti. Feels bad not knowing the girl's name, even though I love her work.
Is she the one with the big boobs? Which is terrible for me to say, but the one from Mad Men?
She's sort of like she defines the word brunette.
Oh,
If you look at
I
the
think I know
cliche
her.
brunette.
I think I know her face.
She was the love interest of the main guy in Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, I didn't watch Sons of Anarchy. No.
I really liked the first season, but I feel like I was just watching it in a period where I would like that kind of show, because the new season's just started, and I'll probably still watch it, but I'm like, why did I like this? Can't remember. And I wonder if this is what I'll think about Imposters. Did I say that name? This is the show that I really like. It's called Imposters. It's about I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's a big ensemble cast. The setup is this guy marries this girl, and she's like, sorry, I've taken all the money from your bank accounts and I'm leaving. You don't even know who I am. What my real name is. I just did this to get your money.
Right.
And leaves. But he's like, no, we had real love. We made real love. How can she have faked it? So he's going to go chase her down.
Actually, I think I have seen the trailer for that.
Yeah.
It has the guy that used to be on another family drama from years ago. Yeah.
So it follows him, but then he meets a bunch of people on the way. So there's that storyline. And it's sort of a bit of a road trip crew that are going around America trying to track down her footsteps, follow her footsteps around the country.
Yeah.
And then you end up following her as well as she's trying to seduce her next target. And she has a support crew as well. So you're sort of following these two crews.
Posse.
And it's nothing like amazing about it, but I just love the sort of world it's in. The people on the road trip trying to track her down have their own little world, and you go into her world, which she's creating, where she's setting up relationships in this new world that she's starting to try and eventually seduce this guy, marry him, take all his money. But then she's got her personal life as well. So she's living a double life. So you sort of got three worlds happening, and you're switching between them.
That'd be fun to act.
Yes. And and there's lots of other things happening, but I don't want to spoil anything more. Most of what I've just told you is set up in the first 5 minutes, but there's lots of other cool things that happen along the way.
I wonder when speaking of the other thinking of fun to act stuff, what was that show, the one with the different character, where she's like 5 different twins, the cloning, the orphans?
Orphan Black or something.
Orphan Black. Yeah, when's the new season of that come out? That was good. I binge watched that too. I almost forgot about it. I'll go home and Google that. Did you go and see any Fringe shows?
I went and saw one. One of my friend was in.
You only saw one?
I bought some ticket sales, but never went to them.
What?
Like one.
You wasted money and didn't go?
Well, I'm supporting the local acts.
Okay, yes, but...
it was funny. I went to this one. My friend Emma Sullivan, who is an actor, I met her when I was working in a restaurant, and like most of my strange acquaintances, and she went on to do Whopper and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
this was a Fringe show. It was a one-woman show, and
cool.
And I would never normally go to see a one-man or one-woman show unless someone's told me it's absolutely amazing. But because it was her show and I wanted to support her, I went along to see it, and I wanted to do something Fringe. It's fun.
Yes.
And I went along, and she was basically a girl who finds herself. She wakes up and finds herself in hell, and or the doors to hell in the queue to get in, basically. And she sort of treats the audience as all the other people in the queue, and she's talking to them and stuff like that. and I was like, how is this gonna work? But it was perfectly length, like it was less than an hour long, and it was like, because I was like, I hope this isn't gonna go for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it was like perfectly timed because it was really started off really funny, and there was a bit of a lull in the minute.
Is
and I'm
that
like,
a floating pop-up bar? Free entry every Friday, and it goes back and forth every half an hour.
probably.
And a ferry. That is cool. Also on the Swan River, there's a ferry that's apparently a pop-up bar that comes back and forth every half an hour.
Mm.
And you obviously have to pay to get on it, but that's so cute. How romantic. Yeah. Okay, anyway. Sorry.
You can do that as a date now.
Well, no, unfortunately.
Oh, anyway, so I was like, I thought I could sort of start to feel a lull, and then it started getting funny again. I'm like, and then it was done. I was like, oh, that was so perfectly timed, because I was, as someone who doesn't have a huge, I don't know. There's a lot of people who want to. There are more people who want to put on a one-person show than there are people who have the ability to do it.
Yes.
Well.
It is. Yeah.
So it's always
tough.
risky.
It's a tough.
But
call.
it was perfect, and the crowd went crazy.
But yeah, that sounds like an interesting concept. But there's the thing with Fringe. So for people who don't know, in Perth is the third biggest Fringe in the world now. I don't know if it's surpassed Adelaide this year, but last year it was Edinburgh, Adelaide, and then Perth, the top three in the world. So there is just so much, like so many shows, and it's fantastic. But yeah, you cannot possibly see, like if you're an artist, you get your artist pass and you get to see some shows. But you know, if you're paying for shows, there's just so many, and you wanna be supportive and find something that's gonna, be really good. But yeah, it's hard. It's like almost taking a risk. But I saw a couple. My friend lent me his artist pass for one, and then I paid for the other because I wasn't in a show this year like last year. And so again, my friends were in that. So I think you met them, like Stephen and Rachel. They were in the couple of friends of mine. So they were in it, and my other acting teacher was like one of the producers for it as well. So went to support all of them, and it was basically 5-10 minute plays commenting on like different types of relationships, written by like local people. And it was interesting. Like one of them was about putting people in boxes, and how like the government can basically flick a switch and then automatically, based on our social like imprint, put us into boxes that, like it was just a different world kind of play. Another one, there was a girl in a coffee shop, and a guy was hitting on her in the coffee shop, and she kept kind of being like, no, thank you, like I'm okay. And then he got mad at her, and then it just went from 0 to 100 real quick because it's a short play, I guess. And like pulls out a gun and like the whole rejection thing, which super relevant because I had this crazy person speak to me in a way that I've never been spoken to before in my life ever, and like something you need to read to like actually believe that it happened. Like, I could tell you about it. Anyway, and then the last one was kind of about like self-esteem and like how we see ourselves, and that one my friend Rachel was in, and she did a fantastic job. Like, it really affected me. But the way it was set up was like they both come out on stage like mimicking each other, like so they're in the same, like just got out the shower, so they're in like underwear and stuff, and they're moisturizing, and then they turn out to the audience, and the audience is the mirror, and then the person next to her is like the voice in her head kind of thing, mirroring her, and then like she has a girlfriend that keeps coming in and out of the picture, like, but it's just talking like how the voice in your head gets to you and how you see yourself, or like self-image and stuff. It was quite powerful. That one was good. Anyway, and then I saw Sensuality 2 as well, which was like kind of the 7 deadly sins, and has like an aerobatic, like all different sections spin to it, which is always good. Hosted by Barbecue, the drag queen. She's hilarious, and they're all, it's a very good show. And they did it, I saw it last year, so that made me want to come back, and I knew a couple of people in it, of course, but still fantastic show. Oh, actually no, I did see another one too. I saw one called Interplay by Kinetica, which is like a circus sort of skill place here that does, again, like all the acrobatics sort of stuff. And it was cool because it was based in like Perth. So it starts off with like he's in bed and he wakes up to like voicemails from, you know, his friend being like, what happened to you last night, blah blah, and there's like 2 girls that pop out and they do like little sequence, and then it's just him on the train, but it's got all the Perth, like, this is now Clarkson, and they're on the train, and then they get out and do little bits. And yeah, it was, I loved that it was very Perth, very local feel, and they did a great job. Yeah, that was a good one actually as well. So yeah, I saw like 3. I would have liked to have seen more, but I was working actually a couple of them too, so I did see more. I saw like a jazz show called A Night in Paris, I think. So she just sung sort of jazzy songs, French jazz songs, which was nice. And then we had a comedian, Josh Wade, up at Babushka as well. So I got to see his show like 5 times and got quite friendly with them and took them out a bit. So that was fun. But his show was interesting too. Stand-up comedian, not my normal type of humour. But again, I like how he'd done the whole split. It was called Me, Myself and Connie. So he'd like done the split personality thing because he'd already developed this online following through YouTube of this other character. So he'd like mix that up, and yeah, it was very clever.
You know what I have to say? I'm not a huge fan of stand-up comedy, the genre. There's a few people who are exceptional.
Yeah.
But I think they would be good and funny if it wasn't an art form. It would just be if it was just people talking on a stage. But as soon as people who call themselves a stand-up comic and try to do something that it is stand-up comedy rather than just speaking on a stage, I just don't. Which is a lot of things. Like if you go on Netflix, I start watching these people because I listen to them on podcasts. I've listened to a lot of famous podcasts, you know, based around comedians, and I would listen to them all day, just talk about random stuff. But as soon as you hear them doing stuff that you know they've done 1,000 times before, and it just feels like a Big Mac from McDonald's. It's just so overdone. It's a Big Mac McDonald's burger that's burnt.
Yeah, there are a few that I like to watch, but it's true, I'm not really a kind of person that goes to, you know, stand-up comedy shows.
I mean, this is mainly Americans as well. A lot of British and Australian stuff I still like, maybe because I just identify culturally more with them. Yeah.
And again, if that's your type of humour as well, like British humour is very different to American humour.
Yeah.
So, you know, it depends on what you relate it back to.
But you compare, like, you know, one of the most... Watch this... If I had to choose between the most famous, you know, British comic going around, like Ricky Gervais versus, like, Bill Burr. I think Bill Burr is super funny in some things, but I just can't stand his stand-up comedy. It's just... You could probably clip out a couple of things that I would like, but just sitting and watching an hour of just these laboured jokes that aren't...
I do forget sometimes that certain people, like when I see them in a film...
And that's blasphemy, man. People love Bill Burr. He's like the greatest comedian of all time, even though he's only been around in the big sphere for a few years.
Well, yeah, I forget when I watch people sometimes, like in film, that are... or TV show that are they're stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I do like it sometimes, but yeah, I don't really go out of my way to go and watch. I have a couple of friends that really enjoy it, and they'll go out of their way to like go and see stand-up comedy. But yeah, speaking of shows, you came to my last show.
Oh yes. And we didn't talk about it.
No, but I mean, it's because we haven't had a chance to, really.
Did you take any promotional photos in your gold dress?
No, because it was always such a quick costume change. And my friend's mum...
Did you get to keep the dress?
No, I did not. It was a costume that they had. And my friend's mum came in and took photos during one of the rehearsals. Yeah. So I did message to ask and see if she had any good ones that...
Because if we use that for the cover image of the podcast, we'd get a lot more clicks.
Or my sparkly gold dress. I don't know. I don't think it suits the vibe of the podcast somehow.
The audience just like went,
Really? Oh, that's good.
I think I was sitting with your family.
Probably.
So
Actually, yeah, I think you kind of were. Oh, no, what night did you come? Do you remember?
I don't.
I don't remember either.
I was sitting next to this really attractive woman. I'm like, I bet that's her hot sister.
Thanks, James. Possibly. Actually, I think you did come on the... They came
Her
on
being Tanya.
my hot sister, yeah. I have a hot sister. Everyone that always gets the... Your
Recurring
sister's so
theme.
hot. Yeah. Yeah, your sister's so good looking. Yes, I know. Okay. Actually, I think you did come on the Thursday night, which is when they came. But yeah, no. That, yeah, I messaged James after the show to be like... So James
I'll
came
go back to my original... I did try to open it. And my original thoughts, because I can't really remember much except for that dress.
Well, James, yeah, since I've known him, since he started the podcast, he's been really good about coming and supporting my shows, which is awesome. Probably just because he gives us something else to talk about on here. But so he came to my play, he came to my musical, and then he also came, which are, very set storylines. And then I said, my end of year performance is more like an amalgamation of, dancing and singing, and it's not, a storyline kind of thing. So I was like, I'm not sure whether you'll like it because of that. But, he still came anyway. So I messaged him being like, what do you think? And he literally was just like, I was blind after I saw you. I had a gold sequin dress in one of my numbers, and that was my response. So I was like, okay. Besides that, so maybe it wasn't that awful. I don't know. So I actually haven't heard from you your thoughts.
It wasn't really my kind of thing.
I didn't think it would be.
But I was entertained.
Good. That's what I like. At least
because it was a medley thing. Like they did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I literally quit my concert band from high school because I was sick of medleys. I just hate medleys.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's because it's a dance and performing arts, like music theatre school. So they kind of have to, balance that out in that sense. But, again, all we wanted at the end of the day was to create an entertaining show. So as long as it did its job, then, and it was entertaining and to a certain level that, professional standard for us, then that's all I could have said. I'm happy with.
Yeah, I think I liked it. I remember, okay, this is one thing I remember. This is my only criticism.
You remember the criticism?
No,
Thanks.
because everything was good except for It's Raining Men, which is like a big number.
Finale, yeah.
And it just didn't have that pop.
Yeah, we don't know. We tried to, we kind of got to that and we just couldn't work out what it was. Like we changed the harmonies last minute. They put me on a higher harmony so I could belt it out over the top, like just to bring it up a level, and it did, but still not quite enough. But yeah, I know what you mean. That is true. I would agree with you on that one. And it sucks because it's a finale and it's such a good song and it could have been such a good number. But with finale, oh my God, you know what's very odd? So my phone is ringing, everyone, and the person who's ringing me is the director from the show.
And your phone's gone flat.
My phone just died. But that's so weird. Okay, well, anyway, he knows. He knows. Well, because I went to get footage from him finally. Also, it only took 2 months.
Yeah.
And he's very stingy on giving me footage, which pisses me off. But anyway.
How did you approach it, though?
Very nicely.
I find a lot of actors are just so, like, lazy about getting footage. Because, like, I understand that with film, right, you're doing it for, like, if you're doing a short film, a no-budget short film, quite obviously the main reason the actors are doing it is to have some footage to put in their show reel. That's like their payment.
Yes,
that's the reason why they're doing it, because they're not getting paid to do it.
Yes.
But often they'll have these ridiculous sort of requirements that me, as someone who has edited show reels before, I know that editors would hate those hate the things you're wanting for, and I know it takes me a huge amount of time to just do. Like, if you are very specific about, here's a hot tip for young actors, because I know actors complain that these people don't get footage to them and stuff like that. And usually it's because it's a combination. Video is really hard to do. Like once a project's finished, it gets archived, and it's such a big drain on data. Like you're using data, and so you have to store it somewhere, and sometimes you move stuff off, and then you start your new project, and it gets locked away. So the best option is to have always have a portable hard drive, or like a really big USB stick, and just say, hey, give me a cut of the film, like a high quality cut of the film, possibly if you've watched the film before, and if you want something specific, say, okay, can you just give me a cut of that scene, because that's my scene, and if there's any extra stuff in it. That's really easy for me to just export out and drop it onto the thing. But sometimes you get these actors that are like, well, I've got this audition, I need you to do this, get this and scene and stick it together and then send it to me, even though I know you're still like finishing the film, like you're not even finished editing, so I have to stop editing the film, start a new project, cut that bit out and then redo it and try and fix things.
It's different in a film, I guess, because especially if you're editing, that is a piss off.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for him, he literally just had a camera set up in the back of the theatre.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything that
But did you turn up with a hard drive that you can just copy on, or does he have to worry about finding a hard drive?
No. My hard drive, I know the numbers I was in. The only problem was because I've not watched the numbers on stage in full costume and lighting, I don't know what I look good in. I don't know, because I can't remember those exact shows. I don't remember what parts might have sounded vocally wowing. So and he doesn't really let you sit there and watch them. So you kind of have to go off memory. But then I could say, can I have half of that number, just so I can go home and be like, oh, that was good. But sometimes he just gets really.
It's probably better off just asking if it's easy just to get the whole thing and you cut it out yourself.
But he won't let you. Otherwise, I would.
Yeah.
But which is ridiculous considering I studied there for 2 years and I would like to have something that culminates my experience there that I can use. Instead I got 8 minutes worth of footage. 3 minutes of that was one whole number that I got, and then the rest was just bits. And then one of them, so my sequin dress number, we were meant to go back and watch it so I could hear what parts sounded good, because he only cut out parts where I was standing at the front that he could see.
Yeah.
And when I got home to watch the cuts, it was just not vocally, like it was good, but it wasn't anything special. So like I know that the parts coming up to where he'd cut were better, so I'm gonna have to go back and ask him. I asked him very respectfully. It was just hard to get. So anyway, and then we got to It's Raining Men, and we were kind of talking about how it wasn't necessarily great, because there's a couple of lines in It's Raining Men that I had that were like belty over the top that I was like, oh, maybe they'd be good. He's like, there's too many people behind you and stuff. I was like, you know what, that's fair, I agree. And it wasn't that great in the sense of it could have been more exciting, but I was like, oh, there were bits that I had in it that I would have liked to have grabbed, but again, was no, for a show reel purpose, no real point. So but I was in quite a few numbers. I was in like 10 or 11 numbers or something, so at least you got your money's worth in that sense.
I enjoyed it.
I was on stage every 2 numbers, which was cool. So I mean, oh wait, you didn't come on the night when the music cut out, did you? No.
Don't remember that bit.
Okay, there was a night. So do you remember the number where it was a Les Mis number?
Oh, that was my favourite bit. You should have just done all Les Mis.
What do you mean? That was your favourite part of the show?
Yeah.
Really?
I would have been angry if that bit cut out.
Oh, well, no. On our first night, though, on opening night, we got to, because that was the first act. That was the first number of Act 2, and I'm Fontaine in this number. It's at the end of the day, if anyone knows it, and I'm Fontaine in the number, and I get into a little brawl with one of the other factory workers. You remember that part?
Yep.
And as she throws me on the ground and jumps on top of me, the music just cuts out in the whole theatre. Like that's it.
So there's no live band?
No live band.
Okay.
The music just cuts out, and we're kind of looking at each other because we're like, did we do that somehow by we don't know, with like our mics, where we could hear ourselves breathing on the mic because we kept going. And then we're all kind of sitting there like, what do we do? Do we just all stop, or do we continue? And then the next line was Mark was coming out of the wing, and he just came out, sung it a cappella. So you know what? We did the rest of the number from that fight scene a cappella as an ensemble. It was awesome. It was really like we
I
kind of all
I
put
think
it
Raining
together.
Men would have been more interesting. If
And
that could hold.
then, but then we reset and did the whole number again with the music. But yeah, that first night, literally half the number, and everyone was so impressed because it was just still like in key, and obviously we had to change it. Like my lines, I made them more acting kind of thing, and like that number, I wanted from when she stole the letter from me to the end where I'm screaming. I wanted that whole section, but he literally cut that bit and the scream. I was like, no, I wanted the whole bit. I wanted to see what like bit sounded good. But are you a Les Mis fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
right.
songs.
Yeah, the songs. So we did it justice for you then. That's good.
Yeah, it was cool because you're in a small theatre. It's more intimate. Like I went and saw it. I've seen it a few times, I think, and I saw it I went to London to see the West End version, and it felt too far away.
Oh, really?
It wasn't,
because it's a big theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that was
possibly they don't use microphones as well. I can't remember.
Well, that's one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite numbers in the show. That number, I had the little duet with Kia, the sad one.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you warned me about that.
I did warn you about that. And then my solo was fun. And then we had a couple of like...
Warned me that it was sad.
Huh?
Warned me that it was sad.
I warned you that it would be a sad number. Like, so in that sense, I don't know if it affected you at all because you already pre-warned.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's okay. It's going to be sad already. I know. And then there was a couple of like quartet numbers that we had that I really enjoyed too, actually, as second years. But yeah, no, it's good. Different, like good little variety, little Latin number, and everything, and different voices, different like dances and stuff. So it was, and a lot of those people you've got to see all year, basically, through the play,
I did recognise
and the
some of them.
musical. Yeah, so I'm sure there were people that you noticed that you were like, oh, I liked you, or I liked you. That's the fun part about, I guess, being someone who came to all the shows, because you get to watch everyone grow throughout the year. And then you get feedback from different people as well, like people's parents, relatives, friends. They come in and would tell me what they'd say, or, so it was good.
Yeah, I thought your singing was stronger in the last one. And which I was surprised by, because when I saw you before, you could barely speak.
Yeah. Well, wait, you mean which last one? That It's Raining Men?
No, I mean compared to the one in the middle of the year.
Oh, well, because it was a different character, though. Like, I was a mum in the middle of the year, so, like, I had to be different vocal type. But, yeah, no, I had to pull that. I was so worried about my voice, to be honest. It was really... And you can hear it in some of the songs. Not like the general public would have noticed, but for me, like, I'm usually, like, stronger than that. But,
Maybe confident is what I'm meaning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just a different character, I think. And I think with the end of year show as well, because they are just, small 4 or 5 minute numbers, you come out as that character for that section. And the types of songs that I did for this show, it's all different genres. Like, so I had to be all different types of people, different types of like contemporary music theatre, older music theatre, which again changes the tone of your voice. So that's why it was such a big show. Like, so by the end of it, I was just like, that's why my voice was so tired because of all the rehearsals. But it was a very big show.
Yeah. 10
or 11 numbers, and I sung in 10 of them. There's only one number I didn't sing in, and I was basically all the songs I was belting in except for like 1 or 2, like big show. So it was interesting, but I survived. It was all good. But yeah, I saw James maybe the week before the show was our last podcast.
So what's the fallout? You graduated?
Yeah, well, I'm done now. Yeah, so I've kind of...
Are you in a post... Are you in a lull?
A little bit. I always kind of
going to class every day, and
yeah, I had a bit of a come down. Not gonna lie, because I had class every day, and then I was working 3 jobs between Friday night and Sunday at one point. So it was just constant. And then I quit the Sunday job, and then I was just then it was rehearsal full steam ahead and working still on the weekends, and just it was really full on. So when I stopped and just I still worked quite a bit, kind of the same as amount that I was working there really when I was studying. So it was literally just like this mass calm down. I had a maybe for about 2 or 3 weeks, like massive calm down. After the holidays were over, like, Christmas and stuff. But yeah, and now I'm kind of like, all right, well, and then I saw, my specialist, found out I could fix my knee, and that kind of shifted it a bit. And yeah, so now I've kind of, once my knee heals up, I've got to get back into training still, and keeping up skill until I move to Canada.
When's that?
June.
We booked your flights?
Not yet, but shortly. When I get that visa, when I get the actual visa, I'm in the process of applying. So when I get the actual visa, I will book those flights. What are we going to do, James? We're going to have to internationally Skype and podcast. Or
I don't like Skype podcast.
Or you'll just replace me.
I will.
Thanks, man.
You can just Skype me and we can pretend to do a podcast.
That makes me so sad. Oh, well, maybe I'll just have to find someone else then too.
Yeah.
Fine. Be like that then. Do you know anyone in Canada who does podcasts?
You'll meet someone, I'm sure.
Oh, say it isn't so.
Do a YouTube channel.
What?
This is my Canada diary.
Oh my God. I could, but...
Get a GoPro. Do some vlogs.
True. I'm just so not technological. I need to learn how to edit this shit.
They make it really hard. When I grew up, iMovie was like the simplest application. It's just like you shoot a movie, you pick out the bits you want, you drop it in, and done. And now it's like I open iMovie, and me, who uses Final Cut Pro, is confused by iMovie. It's so confusing.
Well, because I'd like to do that. I think it'd be fun, especially because I like to, keep that memory. Like, that's what the one thing I love about having smartphones, even though I'm not that technological, is being able to capture beautiful photos, from just a phone. And you've got that. Whereas before I used to have my little waterproof digital phone and my, so I still would use that, but at least I can do it. And I love that I can capture little, and I have all my friends that are international, you can send them, you can WhatsApp them, you can FaceTime them, you can Messenger FaceTime them, you can send them little videos of your voice clips.
Why?
What do you mean why? I'm just saying it's, to keep in contact or to share what you're doing makes you feel like you're there with them.
I just don't like that stuff.
Well, yeah, you don't. You wouldn't.
Do you know what I mean?
It's because it's still very social media-ish. It's
not the same as sitting on a bench by the river, by the city lights, and having a conversation.
But unfortunately, the people that you want to share this kind of stuff with, sometimes you can't be there with them.
That's why I got to make new friends.
Yeah, but the ones that I want aren't here.
They'll be waiting when you get back.
Yeah.
And you'll have a heap of story to tell them, and they'll be like, "Oh man, I can't wait to see Tanya because she's got stories that she's been saving up to tell me, and it's going to be so exciting."
What if it's like 2 years worth?
Pardon?
What if it's like 2 years worth?
Yeah, but you'll be so busy doing stuff in Canada.
Yeah, what if I never come back?
Really?
Are you gonna
Can you do that?
Are you gonna? Will you face?
Do you have
I've got the 2 year, but once if I get work over there, then that's the plan. The plan is to get the work so that I can stay.
And you'll come back.
No, I want to.
That's what happens.
I want to
go to Canada.
I think the thing is that I want the work. That's why I want to stay there for.
That's true.
So I'm going to work, and hopefully I get the work that allows me to stay as long as I can, and just, come back, and then you can interview me about it.
Yeah.
I'll bring my little GoPro back, and then we can sit here, and I can save up on however many years it is, and then I can fill you in. How's that?
Yeah, you should keep a diary or something.
Go through. Obviously I'd come back to visit. I wouldn't, never come back. But, we'll see.
Are you going to try and marry a Canadian?
Try and marry a Canadian. I'll, see what happens. Canadians.
You don't have a life
British
plan that you got to be married before a certain date? Kind of thing?
Oh, God, no. I don't have, in terms of that, no. I mean, I've just...
And it happens to fall during the time you're in Canada?
I've always joked about the fact that I'm probably going to marry a foreigner. Like, that was always, like, a lot of my girlfriends always joked about it too, just because I'm such a sucker for accents. So they all joke about British people. So, I mean, but there's, British people that go over to Canada all the time. So, like, who knows? If they're foreign, we'll see. But no, I don't have a plan of when I should be married by. Just when it happens, it happens.
Biggest problem is the accent.
Whose accent? Their accent?
Yeah.
What's wrong with their accents?
Can't get past it.
You don't like Canadian accents?
No. To be honest, though, that is one of the biggest deal breakers, superficial deal breakers for me.
And a Canadian accent.
Is a strong accent.
I love accents.
Like, I went
on
the date
you're
with
weird.
this just the most beautiful Brazilian woman you ever seen.
Oh.
And I was just blown away that she even agreed to go on. In fact, she asked me out. And I was just like, whoa, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. By the end of the night,
did you take a GoPro
I was a bit
and film it?
Bored of the accent.
Oh my God, no, I love an accent. I'm a sucker for it. You know what though? The people today asked me, I had 4 or 5 people ask me where I was from today. And then they asked me, one English guy was like, where are you from back home? I was like,
all right.
You think I sound, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Even I know sort of British people that have a fairly neutral British accent that I have trouble, I get a bit sick of.
You're funny. No, because
But it's the same, I'll probably get sick of my accent after a time if I was not in my own body.
I don't.
But it seems to be I rather hang out with people that have an accent that's neutral. A vibration to me. It's a mutual vibration
really?
with me. Whatever's in sync with me.
I love accents, but the thing is that I mimic very easily. So when I am around someone who isn't on my vibration...
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actually... there's a tax. If someone, like the Brazilian girl whose English isn't that great, there's a big tax involved in translating her sort of accent, her English with a very strong accent to just what my brain computes. But it's tiring.
Oh, come on. It's like the odd word that you'd be like, sorry, what? Come on.
No, you definitely feel more tired. I find it's sort of a subconscious thing. It's kind of like when you're driving for a long time, you don't appreciate until you get out of the car at the end of a long road trip and go, oh wow, I'm actually tired even though I've been sitting down all day. It's because you've been focusing on the road for a long period of time. And even though you're not moving, it's taxing to your brain because you're absorbing so much information.
I can understand that, but you just make me laugh that it's so stressful to hang around people with other accents. What about the Irish girl that you were crushing on then? Yeah,
but I only saw in bite-sized pieces, so it was perfect.
But you wanted to see her more than that.
Yes.
So what would you have done?
But I predict that I'll get sick of it. In fact, her Irish accent was like the kind of good Irish accent where I she'd be like, ooh, where's it going? And I'm like, oh, this is so lovely.
That was lovely, but okay.
But I bet you, if you spent more than an hour...
You're funny.
Maybe not that. Maybe like a whole night.
I don't know. No,
You'd be getting tired towards the end of the night. It's like, I just can't understand what we're just saying because my deciphering engine's worn out.
That's great. I think because I...
Have you ever done that though?
Why. What, got sick of an accent?
Spent a lot of time with someone with a really strong accent.
Yeah, well, I lived in the UK.
Okay.
So I had a lot of different accents around me all the time. And I liked it. And
you
again...
spend long periods of time with these people.
Yeah, because I didn't have Aussie friends over there. I made a point of not having Aussie friends over there because I wanted to be around British people.
Yeah, but there's certain areas of Britain have a lot harder to translate than others.
They do, yeah. But they all come into London. So you've got literally, it's just such a mix of accents there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't constant.
So you went on a date with someone with a really strong regional dialect and
I'm sure
you didn't find it wearying more than someone who had a more
slightly, but I was just so
I was hearing in the movies.
Slightly. No, I wouldn't say I was wearing. It was just every now and then I had to be like, what?
Yeah.
But I liked that I could. But that's because I like language and sounds that comes out of people. I like when they can't when I can't understand them, it means they're making a sound that I probably don't know how to mimic. So I ask them to repeat it.
Yeah.
But that's just, again, how I'm curious. So, no, I don't really find it taxing as such. Although, yeah, no, I had a guy try to tell me his name once, a couple of weeks ago. And he was like, my name is Dizzy. And I was like, Dizzy. And he was like, no, busy. I was like, busy. I was like, no. And it just went on for so long. And I was like, I honestly... And I got him to spell it too. I was like, how do you spell it? And I swear it's spelled Dizzy. Yeah. And then I'd say it, and then he'd be like, no, you're wrong. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, well, it was nice to meet you. Yeah. So that was a time where it was kind of like, okay, I can't even, when we're missing like the name point of view.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
Have you ever gone on YouTube and watched like the equivalent of Jerry Springer for Scotland?
No.
Do you know what Jerry Springer is?
Yes, I remember Jerry. Jerry.
Yeah.
What's the Scottish version?
Well, you know what? Honestly, listening to it, I can't even tell that it's English. And
Scottish is hard.
But at some point it was explained to me that it's because it's like Jerry Springer, it attracts a lower socio-economic contestants or participants in the show.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing it's equivalent of in Australia. There's the Bogan accent.
Yes.
That usually comes from being from a lower socio-economic group.
Well, yeah.
Why?
Well, no, I'm just saying that's the
Why
association.
Is it that? I always wondered. Is it just a lack of schooling, or is it a lack of they don't consume as much international media that neutralizes the accent? Anyway, and I'm wondering, because I wonder, do I have a better job of understanding Australian Bogan accent than a foreigner, do you think? Or is it just as hard to process?
No, well, you would definitely understand a Bogan more than you would a foreigner.
Yeah. And so is it similar to like, if you're just a guy from Edinburgh, you know, the good side of Edinburgh or whatever, you know, in Perth we call it the western suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're from the good suburbs, in inverted covers, or whatever they say, quote quotation marks.
Yes.
Air quotes, of Edinburgh, the good parts, would you find you're finding it a lot easier to understand what those people on the Jerry's Finger of Scotland were doing?
Yeah.
Or is it just as difficult?
No, because they understand the accents, like they wouldn't have as much trouble with the dialect because it's even though it's strong, they would still recognise their own
way of talking.
Yeah. Yeah. So they'd still understand it, for sure. Just be us that would be like, what the fuck is happening? You know?
And also, I wonder that about other languages I don't understand. Do you know what I mean? Like, have you ever been in a city that doesn't speak English and be able to tell who's Bogan and who's not? By just listening?
What? So a non-English speaking place? I don't think you could. Like, you'd look at other factors, not by how they're speaking. You'd look at how they dress or how they act. Yeah, you'd have to base it off of that. You wouldn't be able to tell because accents, you know, they've got different rhythms. Yeah. So to us, they might sound harsher, but it's could be more posh to them. You don't know. Yeah,
I think there's I follow, you know, video games, and there's a lot of really famous Japanese video game directors, and the guys at Nintendo, they're kind of like the Disney of video games, right? And so people don't really talk about them, but there's some other like edgier Japanese directors, and someone was saying, oh my God, it's hard to explain, but this guy, this really famous guy, he's speaking in like a Bogan accent, and of course we don't understand because we just hear Japanese, and that's all we really appreciate, and we don't understand
that's their Bogan.
That's the equivalent of Bogan, and it's only people who, I guess, know Japanese and live in Japan that recognize that, because everyone has a different voice.
Yes.
It's the, you know, it's the way they're sort of talking.
Yes, tone.
And I'm sure we've discussed this before, but do you think you could tell the difference between a New South Wales person and a West Australian by their accent? if they have the
No.
same socio-economic.
No,
standard.
actually, my British friend asked me this the other day or the other week about like accents between like Australia and there is definitely like it's very slight though compared to the UK, and he was saying it spins him out because obviously Australia is so spread out. You'd think that we would have
like the distance between Perth and Sydney is pretty similar to the distance between Sydney and Auckland. And Auckland has a completely different accent.
And considering we're so spread out, there's only really very slight variations in our accent, I would say. Like, I don't think I could tell. Could you?
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could tell. And actually,
you can only tell between socio-economic differences.
Yeah, really. You know.
And I guess country people. You can get some people who grew up in the country and maybe quite well had a good upbringing just as good as you, but you can possibly tell by the way they're speaking that they're a bit different.
Yeah, that is true.
But if you get city for city, socioeconomics to socioeconomic equals from Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, and put them together, I don't think anyone in Australia could pick them apart.
Not really. Like, not specific place, not at all, I don't think. They would think that they could.
Maybe there's some really hardcore language experts that could.
Yeah, and or the average person would probably think that they could.
But it's, going between Liverpool and Manchester and London.
Yeah. No, it's insane.
Is ridiculous, let alone Scotland and Wales and Ireland.
It's so great. I love it. Like how diverse that is. But
and just even districts in London have their own.
Yeah, southeast.
And New York has the Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And the Queens.
We're all the same.
Yeah. Is it something to do with we developed national media quicker than those countries or something? And we were all watching the same TV or radio stations?
Maybe.
Do you want to end with a hot topic? Okay.
Oh. We could be here for another half an hour.
Do you think, right, that when a man loves a woman...
When a man loves a woman...
And they get married, and they decide to raise a family...
Yeah.
Do you think there's still a lot of couples that decide that the mum will take time off work and focus on being a working mother, and the man will become the sole breadwinner for a period of time, like 5 to 10 years? Do you think that's still a common thing? Because I would say it's still a majority.
Yeah, I agree.
It's maybe getting less and less.
I think the time frame's shorter though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 5 to 10 years anymore. I think it's like 1 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's that long of out of work where the men are the sole breadwinners.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still very common, and I just think that the time frames come down a lot, which is
Do you think that
great.
helps? That could be one of the reasons why men negotiate higher wages, is because they're under pressure to be the sole breadwinner.
No.
A lot of men are the sole breadwinner in their house still.
Yeah. I think
with
that's
families.
It's a factor for those men.
Especially when you get to the level of experience where you're having children, you're 10 years into your career by then.
Yeah. It's a factor, sure. But then again, reverse that, and if it was the female coming out of her 1 or 2 years off and then trying to go for the same job.
But she's lost 2 years experience to the men.
Yeah.
Who have been fighting to be the sole breadwinner, and when she's coming back in, there's going to be a dual income.
Yeah, but
so there's not as much pressure on her to negotiate a higher wage because she's getting it. It's going to be part of a dual income.
Yeah, but if it's...
This is why I'll be interested in an experiment to see if we can get past all the myths and the legends. Like, here's an idea.
It's not
why don't we
monster.
make sure that paid maternity leave is equal between men and women?
Yeah.
To encourage men to take a year off, and then they lose. Then the mother can go back to work earlier.
I know there are a lot of...
The men can spend more time with the children. There may be less chances of might lower domestic violence by keeping a stronger family unit. And also, it'll take a year out of their experience time, so they're less competitive to negotiate higher wages women coming back don't have that disadvantage of being as long out of the workforce as men.
Yeah.
And that I don't think I've never heard a feminist ever suggest that. But I think that would be a really interesting way to solve a lot of our issues.
You've never heard it, but it's probably there because I know there are a lot of men as well that are campaigning to get that maternity leave. You know, and I think it's fantastic. I think they should well and truly be able to.
Yeah.
You know, like just because they didn't physically push a baby out of them.
But I'm sure feminists will come and say, well, that's another male. You're just getting extra privilege.
No, but it's equal. That's what you want. That's the feminist kind of, you want to be as equal.
Yeah. But they were always saying, oh, it's devaluing. The woman had to sacrifice their body and stuff like that. But I'm not trying to devalue the woman's role by making it equal. I'm just trying to give women an advantage by encouraging men to take more time out
to help,
to be perhaps the sole parent at home. The other parent can go back into the workforce and not lose as much time out of the workforce. It
is becoming more common for that to happen. The stay-at-home dads.
I think they've just came in, made it compulsory to give you 2 weeks, and that was a big revolution. 2 weeks compared to a year that women get is ridiculous.
No, and I mean, it's insane that they have to, because then they go, like, at work, they're just at work, their newborn child is at home, like, you know, they want to be with the kid and helping the mother, and, you know, and 2 weeks is not enough to settle into newborn, like, time frame. Yeah. You know, like, to get back to your normal self. Like, you don't know what's happening for, like, 3 months. Like, you know, well, not me personally, but from my sister, from what my friends have told me, they're like, you don't know what's going on for about 3 months. And all of a sudden the baby's 3 months old and you're like, oh, okay, emerging into, like, proper routine. And, you know, 2 weeks is not enough. Yeah. So I think that's definitely should be something that gets looked into. But it is definitely becoming more common.
Do you think that's a controversial opinion, though?
What, mine or yours?
Mine.
No, I don't think it's I don't think it's controversial at all. I think it's insightful.
I think if I ever try to bring it up seriously, I'll be labelled right wing and terrible, and
I don't know.
I think that's why a lot of people are scared to actually give interesting ideas now, because it's not, if it's not part of the ideology of the left, as they say.
Yeah.
The radical left. I don't know.
I don't know, because but then it brings it back to what you define as feminism and equality. Like, that's to have the same in that respect when you're starting a family is that's equality. That's how you define it. But then when you go back to, like, what you have to base it under what your definition of that is, because until we can all agree on that, then all the other processes that come after won't make any sense.
Is egalitarian a dirty word?
Dirty word.
Yeah. Is it the new N word? That's what I've been told.
Really?
Yeah, you're disenfranchising feminism by using it egalitarian instead of feminism.
Oh.
I don't know.
I haven't.
Let the best idea win.
Yeah, but then everyone's competitive, aren't they?
Everyone has different ideas because they're like, well, but isn't there a wage gap? Just pay us more. Even though at a job for job, experience to experience basis, it's just not really true. Here's the reality: is like I've been to jobs which are male dominated fields, and it's really boring. Just being a bunch of dudes is really boring.
Lads.
I don't know if it's the same for you when you go to a job and it's just all females.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do like having a bit.
But maybe it's different when you're married and you don't care about hanging out with the other sex. I don't know.
It's not even about, like, you don't have to hang out with them after work, but it's just a different dynamic when it's mixed. Same with, like, co-ed schooling. Yeah. Like, you know, it's not necessarily, I mean, not that you're married, but, you know, you might not be interested, like, just hanging out and getting a different dynamic. It would be so different from all female or all male. You know, you get to learn how to interact with
So I feel like if they approached it and said, like, we need to hire more females in a male-dominated workplace, and they say, well, that's what they currently do is like, this is for better gender diversity, and then all the men complain, well, I've done nothing wrong, and I'm losing a space to a woman.
Oh, for God's sake!
Right? Why don't they actually sell it and say, we want more women in the workplace because we want a nicer place to work?
That's it. But that's just. But
I just don't see it.
That's just how you
having
put
a
it forward
balance. Yeah.
is HR and like rather than saying let's do this for this and piss them off in that sense. Yeah, put it forward as like you want the diversity. You want the opinion of a woman as just as much as you need the opinion of a male.
Yeah,
like you need to have that because everyone sees everything differently, and it's not enough to have because we are all separate people anymore. You know, there are so many branches of who we've
got to sell it better. Look, think of it as a football team. You're right.
Yeah.
If we just make a football team that's just all defenders, it's going to suck compared to a team that has the right combination between defenders, midfielders, and attackers.
Exactly. That is very true.
But you just don't hear it say it. It's just like, we're going to have got more women because it's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah,
and it's antagonistic. And I just think the opposite side just blocks the ears and goes, yeah,
like maybe.
Come earn it, bitch.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And we don't make progress.
Teamwork. There is no I in team.
That's why, this is why the whole thing came up, was it? Emma Watson.
Well, that was a while back.
She's a wild branch of feminism. It was like, we got to try and sell it to men.
Yeah. But that's why she has that whole he for she thing, which I really like.
Yeah.
It's not just because I'm feminist woman. It's like, no, for both. Like men, he for she, everyone. So I like that. Okay. Was that a hot topic done?
Yeah.
I think we're done.
We should have programs to put more women in the mines in jobs where they're more likely to die. And then there's less men dying in the workplace because there's no women dying in the workplace. And that's better for men, right? We've got to sell it.
I wouldn't sell it like that.
Why not? Because everyone's complaining, I don't get to be a CEO. But they're not willing to do the hard yards and actually go down in the mine and start working in the mine.
And potentially die.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what women say. They're like, I don't want a job where I'm at higher risk of death.
Yeah, but some people will do that regardless whether they're female or male. Again, it's just because the men
99% of workplace fatalities are men.
That doesn't
99% of military deaths are men.
That might not necessarily tell you that there's more men. It could just be that they're...
That they're what?
I'm just kidding.
Right. And we should have some programs to get more men in childcare. Get over the phobia that men are going to...
Well, if men want to do childcare, then they can go into childcare.
Yeah, but that's exactly the argument that... that's exactly the argument that the misogynist movement says, well, women just aren't interested in engineering. They can go into engineering if they want to do it, but they just don't. You never see, let's get more men into primary school teaching. Or
yes, you do.
Really?
I feel like there's a lot of male teachers. And, I feel like teaching, that's kind of a profession that actually is kind of...
Really? Oh, I think traditionally it used to be, but I think they're now having to have scholarships for men. Really? And they're just having to offer scholarships for men in veterinary science because it's become so female-dominated. And I go to the RSPCA and I can tell you there's a lot of lovely women there.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But no, I think teaching used to be more female-driven. But I think now there's a lot of... I think it's getting more and more even.
Anyway, but feminists said that's not allowed. You're not allowed to have that scholarship for men in veterinary science.
Well, sure, as long as there's a scholarship for women.
But here's the other thing. Are they just saying that because they have a blog and they want people to click it and get the ad revenue?
But then...
Do they actually truly believe that we shouldn't have scholarships for men in veterinary science to increase the diversity in veterinary science?
I don't know, James. Go ask them.
Okay, we've had enough.
But...
I'll cut all this out.
But... No, but it's a good point, though. But in saying that, you said that feminists don't want to... they're not happy with the scholarships for men. But then as long as
that's a broad statement because I'm sure there's some feminists that don't care.
Of course. But you're saying that there are people that are opposed to it. But those, as long as there's scholarships for females too, even though it is a female-driven industry, that doesn't mean that people shouldn't have the same opportunity to get a free. Do you know what I mean? A free pass into class. So I would understand if there was none for the female, because then what? So they have to pay for it all, but the male might get, because there's lack of them, like free pass. So as long as it was available for both of them, I don't see why there would be an issue.
Yeah.
You could have more maybe available to them, like, how scholarships, it depends on how much money they have. Anyway, that's my take on it.
Anyway.
Cool. Well, that's kind of, it's very relevant what we've talked about this whole time. It's, the whole politics and women's equal rights and all that kind of stuff, especially with the dawn of Trump. It's an age.
He pretty much he got in because the left was so split. They split the vote because women said they wanted to vote for Hillary Clinton just because she was a woman. And men were attacked for supporting Bernie Sanders because he was a man, even though most people's values lied more with Bernie Sanders than Hillary Clinton's.
Yeah.
He has a better track of supporting women than Hillary Clinton does. But because he was another white man and we had the chance to get a woman in, the left just split over that, and I bet a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters just didn't even vote in the election, or they did a protest vote for Trump. Because they just felt like we've just been told our lives never vote for someone because of their gender, and then, we had millions of women come out and say, vote for her. I'm with her. That was a slogan, not I'm with this intelligent woman or person.
Yeah.
It was just I'm with her, as if that's the only reason to vote for her. It was sort of really demeaning, I think, to both Hillary Clinton and...
Yeah, you make a point.
And now we have Trump. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, where can we find you on the internet, Tanya?
You can find me. I'm under Tanya Alice, so Tania. Alice is AALIS. And on Instagram, you can find me on Tanche_XI. That's TANCHE_XI. And same on Twitter, Tanya Alice.
Right, bye.
Bye.